Do you have I have an avatar. Do you have an avatar?
I don't have an avatar.
I should get
Not
one.
that I've created anyway.
No, I mean, that's the thing, is that these are really compelling, interesting, and scary technologies. Why I think we need to be eyes wide open, jump into it, have the courage to know that we don't have the answers, but to put in parameters, because the technology is incredible. And what it can do is just mind blowing.
What do you think being human at work means?
How long do we have? I mean, being human at work is being raw. It's being real. It's caring. It's having emotion. And AI can perhaps emulate what an emotional response may be, but it is not emotional. But what I do know is that humans are unpredictable. Humans are interesting and dynamic. And so when you're a human at work, you are real, you are passionate, and you're a team player.
This episode is brought to you by Instant Impact. Instant Impact provides transformative talent solutions to small and mid-sized companies that are making between 30 and 500 hires each year. If your recruitment's giving you a headache and you don't know where to start, then give the team at Instant Impact a call or visit www.instant-impact.com for more information. Hello and welcome to We Need to Talk About HR. I'm your host, Felix Mitchell. Now, whether you're an investment banker, a bricklayer, or a soldier, your workplace is about to undergo a seismic transformation. Roles will shift, lines will blur, and change will become the only constant. The way that leaders respond to AI will determine a company's success as much as the right commercial strategy or the right culture. Our guest today is Sarah Franklin, the CEO of Lattice, where she's leading the business, but also the wider people function through this fascinating and turbulent time. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start. I'd love to just delve into what you see your role and Lattice's role is in this sort of wider transformation.
Yeah, so Lattice is about 10 years old now and has always had the mission to make work meaningful, which is what the product does, which is help people understand their performance and their goals, and the whole platform for managing how you get paid and who you report to, all of that stuff. And as you said, this is all dramatically changing right now. Roles are changing. People need to learn new skills. We have questions around what is the future of my career. We have new entities entering the workforce, like digital workers and this digital labor force. And so Lattice's role is really to adhere to our mission, which is still to make work meaningful and help us navigate everything that we're going through, so that whether you're a CEO or a HR leader, you have the tools to bring your teams along. And really, we want to bet big on people. AI is exciting, and we'll talk a lot about the opportunities and the incredible things it can do, but it's important that we ground ourselves in our values and in the importance of putting people first. And that's really what Lattice is here to do.
Well, it's a great mission. I'm on board. I'm also, I should say, a Lattice fan. You're looking at the number 2 feedback giver for Instant Impact on Lattice.
Why aren't you number 1? Are you not competitive?
Sadly, I'm very competitive. This is one of the many things that keeps me up at night, Sarah. But there's always we do a month.
Oh, you're being generous, letting somebody else get number 1.
My co-CEO Rob's he's really on it. He's really on it. He knows it as well. Shout out to Rob. But so I really understand what you're doing so far in terms of making work more enjoyable. This is, though, a very, I think, stressful time. I think I talk to people in our business, but in other businesses as well. It almost feels like there is a baseline level of anxiety that people have around how their roles are going to be disrupted by technology, whether they'll have a role in 10 years' time, what they should be doing right now. So practically then, what kind of steps do you take at Lattice? What kind of steps can HR leaders, people leaders take to help people with that anxiety?
Yeah, and I even think you're being a touch diminishing on how much it is on people's mind.
That's the Brit in me.
Oh, is that? It's on everyone's mind, and agnostic of where you live or what your occupation is or your age. I mean, it's very interesting. You think how ageism was a thing. It was like, oh, well, you'll age out of the career. Well, now the youth is coming into the world thinking, well, what opportunity is there for me if AI is taking my entry level jobs? And so it's a very it's a very intense time. And the FUD is the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt. It is prevalent and pervasive in all of us. You combine it with also a lack of understanding. I don't want to say lack of education, saying that people aren't educated, but there really is a lack of understanding of what AI is, what it's capable of, and what it means for our present and future. And at Lattice, this is what I personally am very passionate about, is that we need to embrace this unknown and have the courage to lead through it so that we can steer ourselves. We're kind of at a fork in the road. We can steer ourselves towards a more dystopian future, or we can, take the reins, embrace it, understand it, go into it with courage, knowing that we don't have all the answers, and do our best to steer ourselves more to a utopian outcome. Because if AI comes in and we don't have a way for people to skill up very fast and to manage agents and be more productive with these tools, you might have a lot of people which are exiting the workforce, and that's a very not the outcome that we want.
No, absolutely not. And I think one of the most interesting things that you guys did at Lattice is one of the features. You can have org structure within the software, right? And you guys made it possible to introduce a digital worker within the structure, and essentially encouraging managers to manage an AI agent or a digital worker. What made you do that? It all feels like it felt like a big step at the time. It still feels like a bit of a big step. Have you?
Yeah.
What was the thought behind that?
So this was a very interesting thing because you rewind yourself to July of last year. It's now early 2025, or mid 2025, I guess. Can't believe how fast it's gone. Craziness in the world right now. But we saw what was coming. And, from my vantage point as a tech CEO, and I've know the technology that's being developed, we saw agents and what they were coming in, what they're capable of. And we wanted to get ahead of it from a standpoint of setting teams up for success in a way that you put people first. And that is, yes, you say, okay, here's a digital worker, but we don't want to go unchecked. We want to know who's in charge of it, e.g. the manager, what roles and responsibilities it has, e.g. its OKRs. We want to understand how well it's performing against them, e.g. their performance reviews, and how much it costs and all of these things. And also when this digital worker or agent is interacting with your systems, it's interacting with your customers, interacting with your employees, without you knowing with 100% certainty what it is going to say or do, it's important that you have that accountability, that transparency, and those audit controls. What was very interesting right now is that back then people were like, that is crazy bananas. What are you talking about? Are you saying that AI is human? Why are you saying that we would manage an AI? Why would you say this would be a colleague? This is crazy. And it was a very simple innovation. And the purpose was to very explicitly and transparently show where the AI was in the org chart. And now you fast forward to today and people are like, oh my gosh, we need to understand all these things. And that's how fast this is going. And it's very interesting in hindsight to see that, it's hard to have an idea early because there's a lot of desire to not believe that future is coming. But now people know it's here. And it's not that agents are coming, it's agents are here. And it's important, again, repeating, but it's important that we stay in control of it and that we have the courage to manage this in a way that we can steer the outcome.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it feels to me like that sort of, it feels to me that the AI is kind of inhabiting different pieces at a rate that we've evolved our understanding of what it can do. So it started off with, it's going to help me with my existing day-to-day tasks. It's going to help me with my admin and drafting and all of the ChatGPT stuff. Then we moved into an agent where it was like, okay, well, there is an agent that can do customer service. Okay, that's going to sit in the customer service seat. It feels to me like the next phase is going to be a little less clear, a little bit more pervasive within the organization, and it's gonna start to erode those barriers between as machines do more and more, as it takes more of the knowledge part of a role. It feels like people's jobs are going to become more fluid, and it feels like the barrier between technology and what's done by technology and what's done by team members is going to become more fluid. So how do you account for that in essentially with the same desired outcome as you had before, which is this is what AI is doing, this is what humans are doing? How do you do it when, if you agree with me that it is going to become more fluid, more of a pull and push?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I think is the big opportunity is if you rewind actually to the beginning of software and think the promise that software had to us, it was to make our lives easier. This software is going to automate your world. It's going to make your work so much easier. It's going to make your business so much better. And I don't know about you, but I am overwhelmed with the software. I have notifications coming from every single thing around me that beeps, including things in my house, including, this software is everywhere, yet it's not all working together. And if I really want to get something done, I have to go log into some application that I have to hunt and peck through, and it's not easy. And then it's very fragile. And so we had a big step level in software where we went from on-premises to cloud. And that made it easier to access, but it didn't make it easier necessarily to use. And so AI is this incredible opportunity for us to just talk to the software. And whether we're typing or verbally, speaking, we're asking it real questions. Real meaning like in a human way of conversing. We're not having to learn SQL, or we're not having to learn exactly how to make a dashboard and a report so that I can interpret the bar graph and understand the trend. I can ask it a question of, who are my top performers? And the HR software will then give me the answer back. And that is where you talk about the workforce shaping. We have to evolve to embrace that the software, the AI, can do a bunch of the stuff that we don't have to do anymore. So if we look at this in a way of how can we have the AI doing the things that we didn't really want to be doing anyways, but we have to evolve to really embrace how we become more human, better collaboration. Like you speak fluidity. How am I able to collaborate better within my team? How are we able to think more strategically? How are we able to connect better with whether it's our customers or employees in ways that we might not have had the bandwidth to do before? Because the AI is there giving you all of the information and the nuance and the understanding, and it's just that much easier to use because you can just talk to it.
Yeah, it's really. I really agree with that. I think that conversational element's absolutely huge. I think you started off by saying it's challenging to have a technology, so many different technologies for so many different functions. Do you think that's going to be exacerbated? I mean, these days, a few days ago, I was wondering.
I feel a story coming on.
Well, I love it. You've got to have an anecdote.
I want to hear a story.
No, I thought there's a couple of business problems that we have that we've always thought, okay, well, maybe we'll get an agency in to develop this sort of thing for us. So the first is how do we accurately cost out a sort of self-service tool for HR leaders to cost out the cost of recruitment in the organization? I mean, there's a tool called lovable.dev. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Uh-huh.
You just build a website or a web app by prompt. So I did a 3-sentence prompt, and I got a mobile and web
Incredible,
browser
right?
compatible piece of technology where you can input sort of agency usage, team. You've got the hiring manager's salary in there and their utilization, what your recruitment process is, and it comes out with an amazing dashboard that is a way better calculator than we had previously. The other one I was looking at hiring demand in the future. How do you accurately map that out? So you've got these two widgets, right? And they work quite well. They're pretty straightforward, but it's sort of limited only by your imagination. But then the next challenge is, which is, okay, well, we're already using HubSpot and Lattice and all of the 9 different pieces of recruitment technology that we have, and our reporting software and all of the AI pieces that fit in between. And there is this sort of tech stack overwhelm that I feel, if anything, could get exacerbated by this new age of sort of almost no barrier to entry software.
Yeah, but the thing is, like what you just said, the data, because the AI itself is in a business setting is not that useful without your business data. You think you're talking about prompting, for example. If you're your kid comes up to you. I don't. Do you have children? I didn't
I
ask.
do. A 2 and a 4-year-old boy.
Okay, so the 4-year-old comes up, or the 2, I don't know, whichever one, and says like, I'm hungry, and they just say something very simple, I'm hungry. Inside your brain, you already know how to fill the prompt full. Like, okay, you like carrots. I actually don't know if they like carrots or not, but you like carrots, you like potato chips, you're allergic to, gluten, you it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're gonna have dinner at 5, and like all the things, like your brain is already feeding the prompt to serve back the answer of like what you're gonna give them to eat, right? And that is what we don't know how to do yet, is give it, or what, actually, this is what you need the AI to be able to do within a business context, is fill it with the grounding of the contextual data. So if I ask a question, who are my top performers? If I don't know all of the context around my team, my company mission, my performance of the financial, like all this stuff, the answers aren't going to be that good. And so the integration, whether it's to your CRM, whether it's to your customer service center, that's going to be very important. And so does that make the tech stack harder or easier? I think it means that it needs to be more connected. And it's something that at Lattice is what we're doing is with the AI agent, we're embracing this and embracing the fluidity in your terms. Where it's going to get where I think it's going to get kind of meta is when agents start talking to the other agents. You're like, what is going on here? Like how do you set up the ground rules? And so a lot of our time is going to be spent defining processes, which right now we have a lot more manual human controls around. But as you start really setting up a recruiting agent to work with a business partner agent, to work with a manager, the different agents, that's where it gets, that's the next level that we're going to go to. That's a level up.
It certainly is. And that's within an organization.
Yes.
We're already seeing this in the talent acquisition recruitment space. We're getting AI, essentially agents that are looking at applications coming in, and we're already in some cases a third, sometimes often a quarter of applications coming in are built by AI.
Yeah.
Their resumes, CVs that have been crafted by AI. We're seeing increasingly this sort of, I'm sure you've seen the interview deepfake challenge. I just saw a study that by 2028 they're expecting like 25%, I think it was, of interviews to be done by deepfake.
Yeah,
candidates. It's
it's.
just nuts.
Do you have I have an avatar. Do you have an avatar?
I don't have an avatar.
I should get
Not
one.
that I've created anyway.
No, I mean, that's the thing is that, I mean, these are really compelling, interesting, and scary technologies. Why I think we need to be eyes wide open, jump into it, have the courage to know that we don't have the answers, but to put in parameters because, yeah, the technology is incredible. And what it can do is just mind blowing. I mean, you said earlier, we're only limited really by our imagination. But how the agents then have conversations with each other and how you understand what is real and what is generated, it's to me, my hope is that it helps us embrace what it is to be human even more. I think of, I mean, I don't know if you have any memories. I do have childhood memories of having a record player and having, this record that I put on a thing. And heaven forbid somebody scratched the record, you know? But it's like, then, went from records to tapes to CDs to iPods to playlist, and now it's kind of like we look nostalgically at rotary phones and mixtapes. I mean, making a mixtape was a really big investment. That was huge. We had to sit there for hours, like doing that, and now you appreciate that as like, wow, it's really special. And people, vinyl's like a collector's item now, and so the opportunity for us is to, yes, acknowledge that's there and recognize how it can make our lives free of a lot of the rote work, but find ways where we can make the human pieces even more human and even more valuable.
I love that. But let's get even more, like, I'd love to really understand what do you think being human at work means?
How long do we have? I mean, being human at work is being raw. It's being real. It's caring. It's having emotion. And AI can perhaps emulate what an emotional response may be, but it is not emotional. Who knows? Maybe we'll have AGI. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. It's not here to debate that. But what I do know is that humans are unpredictable. Humans are interesting and dynamic. And so when you're a human at work, you are real, you are passionate, and you're a team player. You're creative. That's the thing that this is why the AI is so interesting too, is because it has the creative side. But human creativity and human ingenuity, especially in children, is something which you see the beauty of the mind. The mind that's able to think beyond the rules that we're trapped in and think like escaping to the world of cartoon or the world of make-believe where, why can't, you do this thing? And we have all these assumptions, even like gravity is an assumption. That's what it is to be human, to be able to defy the rules.
It was this morning. I was talking to my 2-year-old, who's an early riser, and we're sitting down at breakfast, and he'd come back from nursery with a big stack of art. And no, it's very good for a 2-year-old. It's very good. But we were going through it, and I said, what have you drawn here? And to your point around creativity, there is no way. So his creativity was shown by making out something that was patently not true, because he was saying, it's a rainbow, or this is a drawing of us as a family. And you could see that he was making it up, and that it wasn't true, and that it was imagination. And that felt so human. And it didn't matter that it's not true.
It's the most beautiful thing. Imagination, dreaming. These are things which are so human. And these are things which, when you're at a startup, when you're at any company, you have to dream. You are not robotic. It is sometimes illogical, the work that you do, because the odds may be against you. But that is that is what is inherently human. And who knows what the future will be, but I just think that is something which is so special about being human, and why it can be good if we don't have to spend our mind on monotony, and we can allow ourselves to be more freed. I mean, you were saying earlier how much you loved like having that ability to be present and focused and have conversation that meanders. With when you're drowning in drudgery, you just don't have those opportunities.
And those opportunities is where a lot of the magic happens, isn't it? The unstructured, the space can be where a lot of the real opportunity and value comes from.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I run. You said you like to run too. I mean, that's my favorite time to think, because I am not on a screen. I am looking at the nature. I am breathing in. I feel alive. And that's something for me that running provides. It's like I am alive. I am human. And I'm so thankful that I am healthy and able to run. And I think gratitude is another big part of being human as well, that we have to ground ourselves in gratitude every day, no matter whether things are good or bad. And it's always in the eye of the beholder as well, like how it may be. But it's a choice. You can say, okay, I'm going to choose to be grateful right now just to be alive. And, these are things that are human. And a lot of times we act very inhumane to each other because we feel threatened and because we feel scared. And we think that we need to protect ourselves. And you see a lot of this in the world. And this is the other thing that I'm hopeful for AI, is that it can help remove misunderstanding. Whether we speak different languages, have different cultures, subscribe to different religions, dress differently, eat differently, talk differently, whatever we may do differently, the more that we can better understand each other's differences and have that be, even just language.
Yeah.
You think for Lattice, I think, for performance reviews and things like that, we always we're using AI to remove biases. We all have biases. That's another thing about human, is we are victims of bias, whether it's recency, proximity, you name it, we have biases. And the more that AI can help us see where we have biases, that can be a really powerful thing as well. Because somebody that might not speak your language as a first language, I mean, I'm here in London, I speak English, but sometimes I don't feel like.
I have the same challenge when I go to the States.
Yeah, so I'm like, wait, what's the rocket again? I don't know. That looks like arugula. I don't understand. That's not the same word. But when people struggle because they're trying to speak your language, but then they don't use the right vernacular, or they might say something which they think is slang and it's actually offensive. You're like, what did you say? So there's a lot of opportunity. I've meandered off the question now.
No, I love it. I get the point. My favorite American-British translation challenge is the word quite.
What's wrong with that word?
Well, if you say, if in America you say something's quite good, it means it's very good.
Oh, yeah.
And in English, well, British English, if you say something's quite good, it's like, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's same word, same intonation, but different meaning.
So I'm from the South originally in the U.S. What do you think if somebody says "bless your heart"?
I'm aware of.
Okay, you know that one. Okay.
I'm aware of those connotations. Yeah. I've never been on the receiving end.
Bless your heart.
Well, it's first time for everything. Thank you very much. Right, we've got it. So I think we've spoken a lot about the potential for AI, both scary and exciting. I think a lot of this we've known, or some of us have known, for a year. I mean, it's been around for a couple of years already, since ChatGPT hit the mainstream, and AI's been around for decades before that. And yet, having read your fantastic state of people strategy.
Oh, I do your homework.
Absolutely. We've only got 15% of HR teams in implementation phase. Everyone else still in evaluation. What's going on?
I mean, everything we talked about. It's a lot of hype and lack of understanding. And those two things they're not the most symbiotic of items. And so people are afraid, and then they don't really know what to do. I mean, show me somebody that has 10 years experience implementing generative AI. They don't, those people don't exist because the technology is new. And so you're asking everybody to go at Mach speed without an instruction manual and not expect to crash at all. And people are like, I don't want to sign up. Why do you want me to be the guinea pig? Like, choose that person. And then there's also this massive training. So maybe everybody has, say, enterprise license of ChatGPT. And maybe people are using it to ask it basic questions. But as we were chatting about earlier, prompting is not a skill that people are familiar with. And it's different than how we Google things. I mean, you Google things with very short, like, what's the weather in London, or what's a good show to see in London. And then you're used to then getting a lot of information that then you hunt and peck your way through. And with AI, you have to be much more specific to get good interactions. Otherwise, it'll just going to give you generic things. And so the reason that you see low adoption is a combination of a fear of being the first. A lot of people are trying to boil the ocean, where really just starting simple is the most important, easiest thing to do. And then the end user adoption is people need training. They very simply need to understand, like we call it the blank slate problem. Like, if you don't give me templates to be able to use this well, I'm probably not going to be as effective. And so I'm just going to retreat. I'm just an old dog that'll retreat to my old tricks instead of learning these new ones, because at the end of the day, I just got to get things done. And so those three things we need to make headway on, of the understanding and the education, and then also, the templates for just the simple things to get started.
Do you think, because I think there's a really interesting challenge at the moment, which is that there's no one who's clearly accountable for rolling out AI, whether we're talking about governance or the actual choosing the technologies or the training or whatever it is. There's no sort of generally accepted wisdom. And I've seen IT teams doing it. I've seen transformation functions, if companies are lucky enough to have one of those. People functions. I've seen it coming from the C-suite. I've seen it coming from ops teams. Where do you think it should sit?
Well, I have an opinion. I have a strong opinion on this one. And it really is, I feel like, formed from working backwards to what is the goal. And so you look at any function in the organization, a CRO, for example, their goal is to bring in revenue. Like, that is their ultimate goal. That's how they're judged. That's how they will be working through aligning all their people to bring in revenue. The marketing department brings in pipeline to help it. So, and they're interconnected, but there's an ultimate goal that a function has. The CEO has the goal of making the teams work together and overall delivering the goals of the company. And so I think that for AI, what is the goal of AI? And in my opinion, the goal of AI should be to make people better. And so for me, I believe that HR has an incredible opportunity and responsibility to lead here, because it's not saying you have to be the most technical. It's not saying that you have to be the most adept, but you are the one that is squarely responsible for people. And so in my opinion, AI should be the responsibility of the people leader, because they're the ones that are going to own the education. They're the ones that are going to own the workforce planning. They're the ones that are going to own the job architectures. They all need to be rewritten. Everything needs to be rewritten. And they're the ones that are ultimately own the governance of all of this information as well. So in partnership with your technical team or your innovation, your transformation teams at fancy companies. But in my opinion, the goal is to have people be successful. And so people leaders should be the ones accountable and empowered.
Well, I am completely on board. I agree. And as you said, it's more than anything, it's a real opportunity.
It really is, but it's scary, it's unknown. I mean, I can't think of a single thing in my life that I did the first time and I crushed it. And can you think of something like riding a bike, like putting on makeup? I don't know. You probably looked like a clown.
I think I've only proposed the once. I think I did that really well.
You crushed that one.
Yeah, that was good. I'm not going to tell you a story. My wife would kill me.
Yeah, I just think like, when you have a child, for example, I remember my first child and the doctor like gives you this child and I'm like,
oh, you didn't know exactly what to do.
What am I supposed to do right now? And they're all looking at you like you're supposed to know everything. I'm like, I mean, there's no shortage of people wanting to give you advice, but I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to, and then they let you leave the hospital. I'm like, you didn't give me like an instruction manual and you're just going to let me drive off with this baby in my car. I was scared to drive because I was like, I don't want to like wreck and hurt the baby, but we figure it out, and so we have to have that same courage to just know that, I mean, baby's here. And as a parent, that's what you adapt in the moment and you make it work. And they could puke on you or they could giggle or they could do all this stuff and you work through it and you figure it out. And so with AI, it's unknown and we have to be okay having a few fumbles. But what I deeply believe also is that we don't want to regret the decisions that we make now because they're going to affect us for generations, decades to come. And that's why we need to have accountability, have transparency, and have the courage to go forward. Because if we are just sit idle by and let this happen to us, we could easily end up in a more dystopia. And I mean, I reference often, social media, mobile phones. Those were technologies that were very transformative and had a lot of potential, very exciting, that you could have a phone in the middle of your hand that you could talk to people, right? And social media was incredible, but a democratization of voice and all this stuff, but we didn't ask ourselves the questions of what could be hurtful. We saw how it could be helpful, but how could it be hurtful? And it wasn't until like a decade later when we suffer from addiction to our phones and anxiety from social media that solutions were put in place. Whether it's screen time or GDPR or things that, literally 14 years it took for GDPR to come out after social media, after Facebook was born, 10 years for screen time. We don't have a decade to wait. We don't. AI is here now, and we need to make sure that we just don't let it just, as you taught, just not be pervasive without controls and without management. We have to stay in control of the AI, not let it be in control of us.
Such an interesting parallel. And it feels like social media in so many ways emphasized the inhumanity, fake news, echo chambers, parents spending time on their phones instead of paying attention to their kids. We're all guilty of it. I've done it myself.
Here's the iPad.
Only on planes.
I've never done that. I don't know. You're such a bad... No,
Sarah, you are amazing. I don't think I could pull off the bless your heart. Please.
Oh, you're going to try. You should try that next time.
I will.
Bless your heart.
It feels like, hopefully, the good thing that can come out of all that negative from social media could be that we've made our mistakes. And then when it comes to the bigger transformation, the bigger technological transformation in our work and in our lives, we can emphasize the humanity.
Yeah. Cautionary tales, 2 of them, very recent, not too in the far distant future where we forget about them. We're experiencing it ourselves. We're all, I'm not saying everyone's addicted, but yeah, we're addicted to our phones, and we're have the anxious generation. Also bullying and all this like stuff that's happening in social media, and these are cautionary tales that we cannot wait a decade. We can't wait a year because it is happening so fast. The other thing we didn't talk about really was just trust as well. Other technologies, I mean, if you think back when ATMs came out, and there's a lot of change that happened over the way that you interacted with your bank, from going in to talk to a person to then going to a metal box outside the store that was not inside the store by the safe, and you're going to give it your money and trust that the metal box was going to put your money in your bank account. And that's like when you go into the bank, you're like, hi, here's my money. And then another human looks you in the eye. It's like, thank you, I will take your money. And there's a safe back here, and I will put it in the safe. You're like, okay, whew, my money is safe. It took time to trust the ATM. Now I don't think twice about it, you know? And that transition, you think, which took like decades, is happening overnight. And so we have to learn how to trust also the AI in a way that it is just going to challenge our mentalities. It also is maybe an opportunity as well to be more human ourselves in expressing. So like at Lattice, we have the agent, which is going to help with coaching and feedback and all these things. And it's interesting when you think, am I able to be more real when I talk to an AI because I'm not afraid of judgment? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that you...
Well, on that cliffhanger, Sarah, that's all we've got time for. What a fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. This was incredible.